Hi everybody, my name is Hampus and I'm making this video now because I want to share something precious of mine with you. It's basically a journal of what I experienced on Valentine's Day this year, about a week from this recording. And I wish I knew a better way. Truth be told, we all got rents to pay. It's also pleasant to have a meal in a day. If you get this message that I'm trying to say, there are ways to give something in return. Remember, the amount is of no concern. I'm happy to receive whatever you got to spare, or at least press like and share. I'll put a few links down below. Leave a comment before you go. And pause this now if you're gonna grab a snack, or just relax and lean back. Enjoy.
Three Knocks, a journal about Valentine's Day 2024 by Hampus. Prologue. My full name, given by my parents, is Esko Hampus Elias Tagesson. I'm writing this with the intention to, as truthfully as possible, narrate what I experienced on the 14th of February 2024, Valentine's Day. Before I can do this, I briefly have to touch upon a few subjects, which I hope will somewhat explain my thought process during the event. Here I'd also like to mention that at first I only wrote a few notes, with pen and paper, as I usually do to backtrack my memory or dreams, for my own sanity's sake. I did not plan to share anything with anyone. As I told my brother and sister about what happened, I noticed that I was led into multiple sidetracks, considering the series of questions which popped up during the narration. Since I, a couple of days later, decided that I wanted to tell about my experience, and that as truthfully as possible, I'm now writing this down free from distractions in form of external questioning. And if there still is, by any means, more questions after reading this, I will gladly try to fill in that gap as good as I can while I still can. I also would like to mention that in regard to these subjects that I briefly have to explain, I am still to this day in the learning process of. Therefore, at this moment, I will avoid going deeper than what I myself yet has accepted as truth. I faithfully believe that by sharing this as thoroughly as I can, possibly may lead to a pivotal moment for someone. That is, of course, if that someone, some of which are maybe yet to be born, is ready to receive and understand that information at the moment reading this. That someone will then have a just as pivotal moment as for myself. With that said, let me tell you who I am at the age of 31 in February, when I'm writing this. I'll try to keep myself to the parts relevant regarding this narration and save the biography for later. Who am I? I was born the 15th of September year 1992 in Sweden. I grew up in a peaceful countryside neighborhood on the peninsula Listerlandet in Sölvesborg. Although I was born with multiple diseases like allergies, eczema and asthma, I had a beautiful youth. Surrounded by both a loving family and friends, I can still in a sense consider myself a child to this day. Only being as old as you think you are, I'll gratefully do that until my time has come. I remember always having an intense appreciation for the creative act. At a young age, I got my first instrument, a simple toy keyboard, which became a catalyst to express myself through songwriting later on in my life. Always playing by ear, for better or worse, I could hear melodies and understood music, but was never able to read notes. As a teenager, I was introduced to a digital audio workstation named Fruity Loop Studio, which opened up a whole new world of composing music. This is where my own writing began to take shape. Being a perfectionist and my own greatest critique, I struggled for long to make my music feel alive, or even sound professional. Therefore, avoided publishing any of my work. Though faced with these obstacles, I kept trying, slowly learning it's more about being pleased with a creation rather than creating something perfect. I was doing the best with the talents and knowledge I possessed for that specific time, while also managing my difficult emotions with expression through lyrics and melodies. During school, I felt dragged down by my diseases in many ways. I was easily drawn to comparing myself to another. This resulted in feelings like shame and not quite fitting in, along with the physical side effects of medication like tiredness and being anxious sweating. I remember a specific moment thinking, do I deserve this? Why do I have to live through something like this? At that moment, I felt so guilty for having such mild diseases and the guts to complain about it, while knowing of others with a worse fate. I simply associated school and learning with something I did not like. Until about 2013, I accepted what I thought doctors told me as a fact, that I may have to live with my diseases for the rest of my life. Thankfully, I connected with people giving me another perspective. In this constant battle, around year 2016, I stumbled upon a term called fasting, and have been since then experimenting with it in different forms, providing me with an opportunity to catch my breath. Prior to my experiments, I knew little to nothing about the spiritual benefits of fasting, which I was happy to discover step by step. This was also around the time I began to take on meditation practices more seriously, and with self-determination. In April 2023, my 30s, I decided to bring back full attention to what made me feel happy. I quit my daytime job due to the limited amount of hours and energy I had to spend in a day, striving for completing my FL Studio projects one by one, not only for myself, but sharing them with anyone who would like to listen. Having money saved up from my time spent in the workforce, I felt comfortable in this pursuit of happiness. About 2 months prior to Valentine's Day, I took a serious deep dive into knowing myself, consuming many hours of literature, meanwhile doing intense work on meditation. A gift. I got this pendulum a few years back as a gift from my at that time girlfriend, whom I do love deeply. We lived together for several years and got engaged in February 2021. Due to circumstances I won't mention now, more than not being able to receive that gift, we went separate ways at the end of 2022, but still kept contact. Although I felt happy that she told me about finding love somewhere else, I also felt the poisonous feeling called jealousy, because I was still left alone. This led me to feel pain, and then even anger. At the end of January 2024, I decided to cut that contact, giving my best attempt to heal what I consciously put aside, thinking time would do that for me, only to realize that a peace of mind required a different approach. By taking this step of cutting that contact, I also took a leap toward dissolving my ego. This is a while after I took a serious deep dive into knowing myself through a concentrated dedication of discipline. As mentioned earlier, I was consuming many hours of literature, meanwhile doing intense work on meditation. This is only a simple explanation, containing numerous approaches of widening awareness. Diet, exercise, and retaining sexual energy being some of which. For I did know that a human being is more than just a body, simply split into three: mind, body, and spirit, and one cannot function properly without the other. These three can be further divided into more specific categories, but let us settle with this for now. The pendulum. The pendulum is one of many tools to access the subconscious mind. When I first was introduced to this tool, I had a prejudice of it being some kind of magic along with crystals and such. Like many others probably do, I also thought of it like some kind of circus number. That was until I intentionally tried my best to understand it and learn to do it myself. I found out that I was simply wrong and ignorant. I now consider using this tool as one alternate form of meditation. I'll try my best to explain, as simple as possible, how this magnificent tool works. A pendulum is a simple string with an object attached to one end of the string. When holding the opposite end of the string, the pendulum is able to swing in 4 different ways. Imagine a 2-dimensional cross, and let's call the cross lines X and Y. So either the pendulum is able to swing along the X line or the Y line. The pendulum is also able to swing in a circle, clockwise or counterclockwise. This is the physical fact that I have accepted. What so many believe to be magic is all in the mind of the user. So, to start using this tool, there is a need to calibrate the user. I myself do this every time I'm going to use this tool, simply by concentrating my conscious mind on a question which I already know the answer for. Simultaneously getting out of my own way by entering a meditative state, allowing my subconscious mind to answer. The answer will depend on how the subconscious mind is programmed to respond, using the body to react in a certain way. This programming is done during a week of training, at least I did. I always hold the pendulum in my left hand. I only think of a specific question and concentrate on holding that in my mind while waiting. The pendulum does not swing by itself or by any spirit moving it. The pendulum can only swing due to how your body reacts. As it is limited to swing in 4 different ways, it is also limited to give 4 simple answers to every question asked, and to in between each question being demanded to stop swinging entirely. My programming goes as described below. Swinging along the X line, or to say in other words, from left to right in front of the body, the answer given is yes. Swinging along the Y line, or to say in other words, back and forth, towards and away from the body, the answer given is no. Swinging in a clockwise circle, the answer given is I don't know. Swinging in a counterclockwise circle, the answer given is I cannot answer that right now. Usually this counterclockwise swing is due to not being specific enough, or that the question asked need a deeper understanding before asked again. In between each question and the answer given, I thankfully demand the pendulum to stop before concentrating on the next one. Am I alone? Valentine's Day, 14th of February, 2024. Knock, knock, knock. In the blink of an eye, I wake up on the first knock. I open my eyes with a stare up on the ceiling of my dark bedroom, listening to 3 loud and clear knocks, while I'm getting pumped up with an intense adrenaline rush. I'm clear awake in less than a second. My first thought is, someone want to know if I'm awake. Then I consider the dark bedroom while saying, in my head, it must be in the middle of the night. At the same moment, I come to think of something my sister shared on social media a day or two before. A video from a surveillance camera. This video showed a shady guy sneaking around a house here in Sölvesborg. This shady guy is now at my front door trying to get in. Immediately I fly out of bed thinking that I have to act now. My bedroom is on the 2nd floor in my house. On the 2nd floor there is windows facing north, east and south. So I have an overall good view around the neighborhood, as well as a window placed above the front door. I rush up to that window to see who it is, but to my surprise, there's no one there. I click my phone laying on the desk in this hallway to check what time it is. It's 5:30 a.m. A bit confused, I take a second to breathe while looking at the clock. It switches over to 5:31. Still anxious, I open the window and take a closer look around. Total silence, and no sign of movement. Not even a gust of wind. Not a single car is driving by, which some usually do at this time. I close the window and check the other directions as well. No sign of movement in the neighborhood. Here I'm thinking, did I really hear those knocks? Or was I dreaming? Because when I came to think about it a little closer, the knocks did not really sound like they came from the front door. The loud and clear determined 3 knocks sounded like they came from the attic. To be more specific, either from the ceiling in the bedroom or the wall behind my bed, which are the barrier to the attic. When this thought passed my mind, I also came to think about my pendulum. My subconscious mind will be able to tell me the truth. I have heard a story of a pendulum user who forgot keys somewhere. Knowing that the subconscious mind remembers everything, this pendulum user was able to consciously ask the subconscious mind using a specific series of questions, and in that way find the lost keys. With this in mind, I carefully and quietly walk downstairs, still skeptical about whether or not I'll see someone sneaking around. I have my phone in my hand, and I still do avoid turning any lights on. The stairs lead down to the hallway on the ground floor where the front door is. Here I stop for a moment, feeling my senses heightened. Like my concentration is as sharp as the point of a needle. But there still is no sign of either movement or unusual noises. Of course, I do hear subtle white noise sounds of the refrigerator, the pump to the aquarium, the highway in the distance, and the fan of both the heater and the air purifier, which now is taken for granted. I'm still a bit anxious when I move away from the front door, now also getting a view with my hawk eyes out the window facing west. No sign of anything suspicious, although I have the subtle feeling that someone might see me moving around. So I still move around the ground floor, suspicious and careful, but everything seems fine. Once again, I move upstairs, still skeptical about this calm silence. Check the windows around my house and the neighborhood, but still no sign of movement. Thinking, okay, seems like all is well. I move to the room at the ground floor where I last used my pendulum. This room is where I relax and entertain myself by either streaming things on the TV, playing video games, practice meditation, or work out. On the floor, there is a big brown carpet, where I now sit on my meditation pillow on a regular daily basis to start my day. There is also a comfortable couch, the mentioned TV along with other electronics and multiple green plants of a different kind. In front of the couch there is a white glass table where I last left my pendulum. Still where I left it, I pick up the pendulum, taking a seat on my pillow. As I'm feeling pumped up by that adrenaline rush, I take a few breaths to compose myself before I start using my tool. Keep in mind that my intention of using this pendulum were to ask my subconscious mind for truth about whether or not I was dreaming as I heard the 3 knocks. Sitting on my pillow in a comfortable position, doing calm breathing exercises, I get into that meditative state where I can confidently begin by asking my calibration questions. As I easily concentrate on my first question, I patiently wait for my body to naturally respond. Am I alive? I do not have to wait for long before I get my response. The pendulum is swinging yes. I say my thanks for the answer and demand the pendulum to stop before I ask the next question. Continuing with this method of calibration, I ask the pendulum, am I sitting? Yes. Am I standing? No. Am I flying? No. Am I breathing? Yes. What time is it right now? I cannot answer that right now. Is the time past 5:30 in the morning? Yes. Am I dreaming? No. Okay, everything seems to be in order this far. But when I ask the next calibration question, I get an answer I did not expect. Am I alone? No. Thinking that the answer was strange, and considering that this never have happened to me before, I tried to dismiss that answer by saying in my mind that I simply was not specific enough. Maybe that my subconscious mind had mistaken me for asking if I felt lonely, which of course I deeply knew was not true at this moment. Meanwhile, I fully trust my subconscious mind to tell me the truth, so I ask again, am I alone in this room right now? No. A shiver ran down my spine as I placed the pendulum on the table. I did not feel comfortable at all. My eyes teared up at this moment. So I placed myself laying in the couch instead, grabbing my phone. With an attempt to distance myself from what just happened, I started to scroll on media sites. This kept on for slightly more than an hour, but after a while, these comforting chemicals had little to no positive effect any longer. So, I went to the fridge, grabbing a handful of blood oranges to start my day. But before peeling any fruit, I just had to investigate these 3 knocks. The pendulum was not an option right now. So, I once again grabbed my phone and simply googled 3 knocks. All of the percentage search results pointed to one similar thing. The spirit realm is trying to contact you. This made me feel even more uncomfortable. And my rational mind was desperately trying to make some kind of sense in the situation. As I'm still learning about this subject, I have no other language to use but of those terms related to various religious beliefs. With this said, I have heard of the term guardian angels before. Meanwhile, I would consider it ignorant to expect that such angels would exist without a purpose, meaning that a guardian angel would have no reason to exist without something to guard anyone from. No good without evil. I also have heard of a term called channeling. In a fun and easy way, I even remember saying that this was something I was able to do. In a kind of joking sense, not really fully believing that to be true. At the point I was talking about channeling, I was thinking in terms of me not really feeling that I was alone while writing lyrics to my songs. But this was not what crossed my mind this time. I loosely also heard that one was able to talk with another being with this psychic ability. A being not limited to a human mind, but also a pet dog, for example. Or in this case, my rational mind tried to have me believe that I maybe just picked up a consciousness from one of my green plants. I was standing at a two-way section of starting my day and letting this all pass as a weird memory, or to keep investigating this new contact. I wanted to choose the easy way, but that thought felt so wrong. I had an intense urge to once again pick up the pendulum. It was just as if someone's life was depending on me to act upon my intuition. So I sat down once again on my pillow and repeated the calibration. Everything was in order, and then again, with a determined mind, I grasped whatever courage I possessed at the moment and asked, "Am I alone in this room right now?" I got a clear and direct answer saying no. Okay, where do I go from here? The third time I asked if I were alone, I accepted the answer. A first response to the clear answer I got was the following thought. Okay, where do I go from here? This thought was quickly followed by multiple other questions going something like this. First and foremost, what do I have with me in this room? And how can I figure this out only using questions where the answer is yes or no? Due to my skepticism, I start by asking things just to clarify who I am. Am I a physical being? Yes. Is me, my ego, and I the same individual? Yes. Am I asking questions? Yes. Am I answering these questions? No. Am I alone in this room? No. At this point I keep coming back to my calibration questions, which I fully trust. Like, am I sitting? Am I standing? Am I flying? Am I breathing? Am I living? And so on. Is me, my ego, a spiritual being? No. Is there, other than me and I, another entity present? Yes. Here I'm concerned about how to approach this in a safe manner, thinking that I still have to follow my intuition, meanwhile asking questions which are clear and direct to keep a slow, steady pace. Still a bit baffled by this situation, I try to make sense of it all by thinking maybe there is a bug in this room or something else alike. Are you and I the same individual? No. Are you a spiritual being? Yes. Can I see you? No. Can I hear you? No. Can I smell you? No. Can I in any way sense your presence? Yes. Now I feel some kind of sadness, which I have a hard time to tell if it comes from myself or this being I'm talking to. With teary eyes I ask, are you dead? Yes. Did you die a peaceful death? No. This was the clearest answer this far using my pendulum. Do I know of you? Yes. I do know a few friends and close friends' parents who passed away, but my first hunch told me that this was someone I never met in life. I also were concerned whether or not this person understood English. Does my mother know that you're here? To approach this with caution, I was careful not leaning into it too much, taking small steps and even coming back to calibration in between. Everything except this new phenomenon seems to be in order. Can you communicate with me? No. Can I communicate with you? Yes. Do you understand these concentrated thoughts? Yes. Are you at peace now? No. Do you have something to say? Yes. Will you find peace then? Yes. Filled with skepticism, I wanted to know if this spirit was trying to lead me on to something, since I always got such obvious responses. I was trying to come up with a question that it could not answer. So I kept asking a few more questions about how this spirit died. A few months back, I was playing a game called Minecraft, in which you can die in multiple ways. One way is by falling. So I had to ask, did you die by falling from a high place? No. Did you die by burning to death? No. Did you die from a drug overdose? No. Did you die from heart failure? No. Did you die due to a brain disease? No. By asking these questions, I was not only trying to find something the spirit could not answer. I was simultaneously ruling out potential loved ones and friends who I knew passed on too soon from this life. I did have a name in my mind by this point, so I continued by asking how I've been told this specific person died. Did you die from cancer? Yes. Here I started crying. With tears falling down my lap, I kept on. Are you a family member? Yes. Are you from my father's side? No. Are you from my mother's side? Yes. Are you my mother's mother? No. Are you Esko? Yes. Here I feel some kind of relief, and that I've gained more of an understanding what this situation is all about. But still kind of skeptical, I feel the urge to check if I'm just talking to myself. Due to me being named after this man, I had to ask, am I Esko? No. Are you sad? Yes. An intense grief is overwhelming my whole being, as well as I have a hard time sitting up. I feel so weak in my body, and I burst out in tears. My head falls and I'm crying uncontrollably. I sit like this for a minute, although it feels like years. Does my mother know that you are here? No. Do you want to talk with my mother? Yes. I'm met with a more joyful yes this time, and I ask, is it Valentine's Day today? Yes. Is it Valentine's Day tomorrow? No. Do you want to wish my mother a happy Valentine's Day? Yes. Will you find peace then? Yes. Do you want me to call her right now? Yes. Truth be told, I did not enjoy this answer. This meant that I had to put my ego aside, calling my mother, still sobbing in tears. And on top of that, I also had to risk giving her a minor heart attack due to me speaking with her brother who passed away before I was born. But it was of great importance that I had to follow my intuition. So I was simply forced to give her this call right now. I have to do it. After getting this answer to give my mother a call right now, I directly looked at my phone on the table, still sobbing. How would my mother react? I hesitated for about 2 seconds before grabbing it, but I had this strong urge to act now. It was as if someone's life depended on me to do this, and time was not a friend at this point. Grabbing my phone, I went directly into recent calls, pressing my mom's number and put the speaker on. Then I placed the phone by my side. The phone gave away 3 or 4 tones as I patiently waited. Mom picked up and said hello as usual. I did my best to push out a, "Hi, what are you doing?" as normal as I possibly could. But of course I had no success with that, and my mother quickly asked if I were sad. Not really me, but the one I'm talking to is very sad. Mom was quite confused by the answer and kept on with questions like, "What's the matter? Did something happen?" "There's a family member here who wants to speak with you." Obviously, my mother is even more confused and worried at this point. Saying that she don't understand, she also asked, "Who's there?" Thinking to myself that this is when I'm giving Mom a heart attack, I told her that it was Esko. First she just said, "What?" So I repeated, "It's Esko." Mom responded directly with a both sad and determined voice. "But Hampus, Esko is dead." "I know, Mom, Hearing my mother crying as well as I kept on sobbing. He did not die a peaceful death, but he's here with me now to wish you a happy Valentine's Day and that he loves you dearly. This is when I began having trouble keeping up, getting my attention split up into 3 different directions. Something I first learned to be possible a day or 2 before this event. That day, I was entertaining myself with streaming something from YouTube. Finished watching what I myself picked as a subject. I let the TV keep on playing while I was preparing a meal. The next video was a Huberman Lab podcast episode regarding meditation. I did not really listen that much due to the noises I was making in the kitchen. Split up attention. A specific moment I turned away from cooking to hear what he said. Mentioning a form of meditation where you split your attention into 3 different directions. Saying that splitting attention into 2 directions is quite easy and something that a beginner have no trouble doing, as opposed to this 3-way split, which require a ton of effort and training. While I felt a bit disrespectful towards my mother, I chose to cut my attention from what she was saying, as I kept my focus on Esko. I remember some of the things she was mentioning, but the timeline order and exact words may be mixed up from this point on. I explained the event leading to this phone call, and made sure to know if Esko could hear my mother speaking. Can you hear what she is saying? Yes. Mom's response to the Valentine's wishes was a loving "aww." I became kind of quiet from here on, only responding Mom with simple words as I kept my contact with Esko, using my pendulum. Mom continued talking about him, saying how he was so good looking when he was young, with that combed back hair, just like Elvis. She said that he was playing accordion by ear, while also mentioning that I was named after him. Mom's thought about me also being able to play melodies by ear was that maybe it had to do with something regarding me being named after her loved brother. I remember asking Esko about whether or not her theory added up. He gave me a clear answer that my talents had nothing to do with him. Mom kept on by saying how he got worse in his conditions, and that it happened so fast. He got sick before the age of 50. She said that my grandfather died the same year, on Christmas Eve, 1989. Esko attended the funeral, already limping. He had gone to the doctor all by himself and got diagnosed with cancer. Mom said that he had trouble with alcohol and that his cancer escalated quickly by 1992. This is the year I was about to be born. Esko was asking many times when he was going to see this child. Mom tried to tell him that I was going to arrive in September, but as his conditions rapidly got worse, by the summer before I was born, Mom kind of knew that he would not be able to welcome me to this world. And so did he. Here I asked if Esko could see me now, and he responded that he could. During her description of Esko and his last years, I was asking him if this was all true. The pendulum was so determined swinging yes. She told about the time he was laying on the bed at hospital, and she, together with other siblings, came to visit. She was asking him how he was doing, and then specifically how he felt in his legs. His response was, "Legs? I don't have any legs." My grandmother was also there, saying that if there somehow was a way, she would have carried that horrible disease for him. Note that my grandmother is not his biological mother, although she cared for him as if she were. When Mom said that she had been thinking a lot about Esko the last couple of days, it occurred to me like a strike of lightning. Although I did not say anything about it at the moment, I knew he was desperately trying to contact my mother, with little to no results. He found that contact with me instead, trying to get the message through. The 5th of June, 1992, my sister was celebrating her graduation. Esko had a strong will to attend, although he was terribly weak. Mostly sitting in his wheelchair, quietly, neither eating nor drinking. 10th of June, Esko was laying in his bed at the nursing home. Mom, the siblings and grandmother came to visit him. Mom had many of her siblings still alive by this time, so there were plenty of people around. The nurse was asking if they all really had to be in the room at the same time, but this was what Esko wanted. 18th of June, Mom and my uncle, who was near friends with Esko, went to visit him again. Esko was awfully quiet during this visit, and by the time Mom was about to leave, Esko held her hand with affection, squeezing it tight, like he knew that this was the last sight of her. The morning after, past 9 a.m., Esko went into the eternal sleep. The funeral took place on the 26th of June, 1992, on his birthday, when he was about to be 51 years old. Have you met my grandparents? At the end of our conversation, Mom was wondering if Esko had met my grandparents, so I asked him, "Have you met my grandparents?" "Yes." "Are they with you right now?" "No." "Are they both at peace?" "Yes." I tell Mom about these answers as I feel like asking Esko a final one. "Do you wish to tell my mother that you love her?" "Yes." During our call, Mom asked me multiple times if I was able to handle this situation. With confidence, I told her that I felt safe and that I got an even greater understanding of who I am and what I'm capable of. As we all declared our love for each other, we also ended the call. And just to be sure, I asked one final time, "Esko, are you still in this room?" "No." Did he find peace at last? "Yes." I put the pendulum back on the table, at last with the pleasant feeling of peace and joy to start my day. This is a picture of Esko. I cannot tell how old he is here, but what I do know is that it was during his service in the military. The wrap-up. As my attention was a bit split up, and that I felt it would be nice to have a second perspective, I asked Mom to recall this situation as good as she could. Since she wrote this letter in Swedish, and that when I read it in Swedish I hear my mother's voice, I will avoid recording myself reading that letter. But I'll try to translate that for you here. Hi, my beautiful son. After our conversation, I felt a bit dulled. When I heard your voice, I got worried and afraid due to the sadness in it. mentioning a relative who was there with you, I got confused. During the conversation, you brought to light what you had been through, the 3 knocks waking you up, saying that you sat with the pendulum and had a greeting from my brother, Esko. This brought me to tears. We wept together. What you and I witnessed became so significant. Spirits are around us, and I've always had faith in that. So exquisite. Sure, it also felt a bit scary, as well as mighty. Afterwards, I thought a lot about the experience, met with a sincere joy. I, who had Esko in mind so much the last couple of days. I told you about how Esko got sick and that he moved from Hedemora to Olofström, where our family could live close to each other. I felt a profound gratitude towards the ability you possessed, as well as you both embraced it and being able to handle the emotional turmoil which a message from the spirits can bring with it. I love you, my dear Hampus. Hugs, Mom. Sunday the 18th, my father and his wife were hosting a dinner for us children. Not everyone gathered at once, but both families, their grandchildren, and concerned loved ones. I intentionally drove my car over there about an hour before the appointed time. I thought it would be best to have a quiet and calm moment before. And since I'm using the English language when I'm thinking during meditation, it also came naturally to write this all in English. My father does not understand this language. I felt that he also had to hear about what just happened, so I had to do my best recalling it in Swedish. Once finished with explaining, my father said, "Wait here, I've got something for you," and rushed upstairs. He came back a minute later with a watch. Handing it over to me, I asked my father if this watch belonged to him, referring to Esko. I was correct. Base metal bezel stainless steel back was engraved on the back of this Origo quartz with black leather strap band. The watch had stopped, from what my guess was, due to no change of batteries for over 30 years. As I looked at the dial, I thought to myself, it would be really cool if one of the pointers would move a little. But no, I had no luck with witnessing such abnormal phenomenon. When I took a closer look at the watch the day after, I noticed that the time was 19 minutes to 6, and that the date showed number 26. When seeing this, I also had to see what time I called my mother on Valentine's Day. I called her 9:20 a.m. I cannot declare if someone have dialed this in intentionally, or if it's a mere coincidence. At least I got emotionally affected by seeing the similarities here. Throughout the whole process of writing this narration of my experience and also during the event itself, I was constantly on the edge or beyond of what I would consider my comfort zone. Maybe this feeling I had about someone's life depending on having to act now and truthfully going along with my intuition was not only about Esko. As I start to sense that what happened was only like finding a corner piece of a bigger puzzle. It's a start of something new. I'd like to end this with a thankful thought to all of my teachers throughout my life, with one of their favorite expressions of gratitude. O divine providence, I ask not for more riches, but more wisdom with which to make wiser use of the riches you gave me at birth, consisting in the power to control and direct my own mind to whatever ends I might desire. Napoleon Hill. At first, I thought I should change the batteries in this clock, but since there's no one alive to confirm this theory of mine, that regarding this clock, stopping at this date and exact time, is Esco's way of saying that this is the arrival of his soul to this earth. So, I think I'll leave it like this, in honor to his memory. Thoughts and conclusions. The event that occurred on Valentine's Day was a completely new experience for me, and I'm still trying to find a natural explanation. The more I let go of past beliefs, the closer I get to something that actually makes somewhat sense of why and what I went through. Since I made the decision to heal whatever relationship issues present in my life, about the time I took a deep dive into knowing myself, I formed some kind of habit listening to a podcast regarding this. But the night before, I remember going to bed simply because I wanted to sleep, with a quotation in my mind going something like this: "One should not bring food to bed, neither go to bed for thinking, as well as one should not linger in bed once awakened. One should go to bed because one feels the need of sleep. One should rise in the morning ready to act and think." Although I had that quotation in mind going to bed, I could not help feeling a bit restless, as I usually do laying there. In this restless feeling, I started to think about what I would act upon once awakened. I knew that Valentine's Day was at the doorstep, and that I was not expecting any form of communication from anybody. I kind of planned to stay under the radar for a couple of days, with the intention to stay away from anything that would have brought up any negative thought process, which I did not need at the moment. Ascension flu. As this writing progressed, I experienced even stranger things, somewhat normal to me but presented in an incredibly intense way. Starting from the event on Valentine's Day, things escalated quickly. Some of the things happening to me while writing this got me both a bit worried as well as it provided clarity. Let me mention that today is the 18th of February 2024, 2:58 a.m. at this point. Since I got the urge to write down and share my experience, I started to feel simultaneously energized, alternating between feeling symptoms of sickness. At first, I thought that these symptoms were simple coincidence, at least until I was pointed in the direction of investigating what was happening to me. This both through a sense of heightened intuition, meanwhile using my newfound trust in the pendulum more frequently. It was when I began to experience those diseases from my childhood in a rapid manner that I understood that something was a bit off. I could suddenly get a runny nose, itchy eyes, or just like an antsy tingling all over my body, much like I remember having symptoms of allergies again. Only this time, these symptoms would last for just a few minutes and then go back to normal or even more energized. I was also having trouble sleeping due to symptoms of asthma presenting itself again. This also in a weird, intense manner. I would wake up just a couple of hours after going to bed with what I remember as an asthma attack. Something that would send me to hospital as a child. Even though I still got medication for that, I did not feel any need to use it. And as I trusted this feeling, all of my symptoms went away in just a few minutes. I thought this was incredibly strange. With guidance from my intuition and the pendulum, I got myself into something named Kundalini awakening, a term that I was loosely familiar with in cause of hearing it from Sadhguru speeches as well as reading various content on Instagram. Just as my thoughts regarding channeling, I've never thought that Kundalini awakening possibly could happen to me. But for now, the best explanation for my current situation is that I maybe woke up a spark of it accidentally. Let me once again mention that today is Sunday the 18th February 2024, now 3:30 AM. I woke up with these symptoms of asthma again. As I could not simply go back to sleep, I tried going outside to connect with nature by walking bare feet on the lawn around my house. I got inside and took a seat in my couch to Google these symptoms. I found a list which I will simply copy-paste on the next page. Although some points may be trivial, there are more than a few that truly resonated with what I have been through for more than a year back. By the time I'm writing this sentence, I'm also free from asthma symptoms. Here's the list of ascension symptoms. Maybe you'll recognize some yourself. Of course, not all-inclusive, but a good start. 1. Clumsy behaviors. Dropping or forgetting things, and acting before thinking. 2. Changes in body temperature, including hot flashes and sweating without cause. 3. Flu-like symptoms that come and go seemingly at a whim. It never lasts long, sometimes only an hour or so. 4. Fluttering heart, increased pulse, and a warm feeling that spreads through the chest. 5. Overheating is a common ascension symptom, especially through hot flashes and night sweats. It can be sporadic and irregular, or constant and very regular in equal regard. 6. Coldness, decrease in blood circulation, and an inability to get warm. Sometimes accompanies flu-like symptoms, often temporary and gone as quick as it came. 7. Sense of smell becomes more sensitive. Things start to smell a bit different, and a lot more powerfully, related to allergies flaring up as well as pre-existing sinus problems. 8. Upheaval in terms of sleep schedule and quality. Insomnia and fatigue are as likely as each other, though it is most likely for you to experience both at different times. 9. Being pulled away from civilization and modernity, and towards nature and the wisdom of the past. 10. Withdrawal, usually to get some time alone and away from the energy of others. 11. Increase in psychic powers, clairsenses, telepathic connections, tarot, oracle reading, and intuitive thinking. 12. Dietary changes and weight loss or gain. Loss of appetite is common, and a change in taste is even more so, with a shift towards healthier foods. 13. Upheaval within your life that comes out of the blue. It could be a change of job, friends, or family relationships. You might get the urge to travel or move. 14. Period of very high energy and intense creativity that overrides everything else you are doing. 15. Problems with judging the passing of time. 16. Louder, smarter, and more talkative inner voice. 17. Lack of focus, foggy head, and lack of clarity often leads to forgetfulness and distraction. 18. Disruption to electronics, electrical fittings, and lighting. 19. Buzzing in the chakra centers and high energy flow between them. Many of the ascension symptoms you are experiencing are related to excess energy exciting your chakras. 20. Sudden onset of bad reactions to foods that you were fine with before, especially high processed foods with lots of chemical additives. 21. Changes in the growth rate and appearance of the hair and nails. 22. Difficulty maintaining a healthy sleep cycle, waking up in the middle of the night for no apparent reason on a regular basis, more vivid and lucid dreams. 23. Extra sensitivity to sound. It often causes a bit of anxiety, as our ears can be very important to our states of mind, often accompanied by a change in music tastes. 24. An increase in epiphanies, original thought, and revelations. 25. Mood swings and a short temper, unpredictable to anyone around you, but also to yourself. 26. High emotional sensitivity. You experience bouts of extreme happiness or upset, feeling unable to regulate your own emotional state. 27. Having the distinct and unavoidable need to find your true self. 28. Baseless worrying and unfounded anxiety that seems to have absolutely no cause. 29. A yearning for a place to call home, and the intuitive knowledge that where you are is not truly home for you. 30. Incidents, however rare, of channeling, spoken or written. 31. Feelings of unconditional love and peace, oneness with the universe, and an appreciation for all natural things. 32. Excitation of the crown chakra, which can cause tingling sensations on the top of the head. It can also cause pressure and headaches. 33. Sudden digestive issues, including flaring up of existing conditions like IBS. 34. Aches and pains in muscles and joints that don't have an explanation. 35. Latent electrical power in your muscles causes twitching, tingling, and spasming. This usually occurs on the legs and arms, but can appear anywhere. 36. Disassociation with the physical body, feeling not quite at home within. It almost feels clunky, which is linked to clumsiness. 37. A feeling that there are spirits and other higher beings around you all the time. 38. More intense dreams, including lucid dreams. Sometimes they can be prophetic, but they can leave you mentally and emotionally exhausted. 39. You can see the occasional hint of an aura around an object and people. 40. A distinct but vague sense of urgency, like the clock is ticking quicker. 41. Some flashes of telepathic power. 42. A deep knowledge that you have a mission here on Earth, and a strong urge to do all that is possible to fulfill that mission. 43. A sharp uptick in the amount of synchronicity that you experience on a daily basis. Pay attention to the signs in order to discover their meaning. 44. Feeling isolated and cut off from others, despite often being to blame for that fact. 45. You feel within your intuition that something has changed. You can't shake the feeling that something big is happening within your soul. 46. Sudden and temporary skin conditions like rashes, acne, or patches of dry skin. 48. More daydreaming and ambitious thinking, accompanied by bursts of creativity and productivity that are achieving results. 49. Visual artifacts and changes in eyesight. This can be either way, with vision getting better or worse. Sourced from spiritualunite.com. I began to see a pattern of waking up in the middle of the night with having a hard time breathing. As I'm writing this, the 20th of February, it has now happened 5 nights in a row. Always somewhere in between the hours of 2:30 and 3:30 a.m., with tonight being the latest of which. I came to think of a picture I'd seen on Instagram a few years back. Well, seek and you shall find. So I did. The picture I was searching resembled a 24-hour circadian clock. It showed that in between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m., the body is doing the detoxing of the lungs. Some may say coincidence, but to me it's clear what my body is trying to do here. Today I also saw a lemur on the TV. This gave me a flashback of a vivid dream I had just a couple of days before Valentine's. I did not write this dream down, unfortunately, but in that dream I do remember that there was at least one lemur outside my house. I don't know why, but for some reason I opened up the front door and the lemur rushed inside. Maybe it's worth doing a dream interpretation here, but I'll save that for another time. Knock, 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 and it shall be opened.
I wanted to make this video for free, so that it would be available for everyone. But if you would like to support me in any way, you got all the links down below. And if you're not comfortable with a donation, the simplest way is by sharing this video. With that said, I want to send out a special thanks for all the support I've got this far, because I wouldn't be able to do anything without you. And I'd also like to wish you a very nice day. Hi.